I don't have to ask you what you're reading. I can see it. We can all see it. It's Absolute Superman.
Yeah, Lois Lane just put a stun gun in this Joker's mouth.
I know. What's up with that?
She don't play.
It's not exactly. It's not a popsicle, that's for sure.
No, but
He's
she's
it's
cold blooded.
and who was it that got the stun gun in his mouth?
It was one of the peacemakers.
But it was specifically a man by the name of Hank Henshaw.
Oh,
Yes.
I missed that.
Yeah. If you look on page 2, right? You're Henshaw, right?
Crenshaw.
Does it say Oh, you know what? I read it wrong. Sorry. I thought it was Hank Henshaw. I think I wanted it to be Hank Henshaw. I'm like, that would have been so cool.
That would have been epic if we start building that up, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So I got all excited for nothing. But that's okay. There were other parts that excite me too. But
there's other stuff in this issue to be excited about.
Exactly. I mean, we'll talk about all of it right after this. Man, they really shouldn't. They shouldn't use a name that's so familiar to a well-known name. It's like calling a female character in there Lena Long and expecting people not to think that it's Lana Lang. But anyway, before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you're alerted whenever we upload new content. Make sure you leave a comment and hit that like button. It's right below. It's a little thumbs up there. It helps us with the algorithm gods. We are back to Absolute Superman. This is issue number 4. Great covers again. The other cover that you can see behind us on the right there is just an incredible cover as well. Yeah, that one.
Was this the week with the Raza cover as well?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Oh man, that was a gorgeous cover.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are. Yeah, exactly. We are going hot and heavy on Lois Lane trying to find Superman again. And you can see on the first page she's traveling basically all over the world. Asking questions to try to find out where he is because she's trying to find him using some maybe a little bit aggressive questioning at times as well. So, yeah.
It was dude. I opened this and I saw 9 panels. I said, "Oh no, are we doing the Alan Moore thing? Is that what we're going to do?"
Yeah, exactly.
This was definitely the most wordy issue of Absolute Superman yet. I gotta be honest, right at the front end, my initial thought was, "Oh man," but then when I get into it. It worked perfectly. It played perfectly, and it made the third act really nail the landing. It really made it stick.
Yeah, exactly. I was the same way when you thought it looked like a Watchmen episode, and then my second thought was, "Oh, look, Hank Henshaw." But then now I know that I'm wrong.
It was interesting getting into this too. The 9 panels with different, what would you call them? Like different people that have
different nationalities.
Yeah, nationalities. I was going to say observers or witnesses. Yep. Witnesses that have experienced interacting with this Superman on some level or another. And Lois just trying to question everybody to gain information. But what we get from the first page of meeting all these people is, one, they don't want to talk to her at all. None of them say a word to her. And she's trying to just convey, like, I'm not here to hurt him. I know you don't trust this Lazarus Corporation, but we need you to help me out because I'm trying to help this guy out before this corporation gets here. And then finally on the 9th panel, Lois doesn't question this lady about Superman. She just notices her face is bandaged with blood even showing through. And she just says, "Who gave you that wound?"
Right. Because if you remember, I know it's been a while, but at the end of issue 3, the last thing we saw was a Peacemaker basically unloading his gun on a crowd.
Yeah, these guys are savages toward the workers in these locations that they go to. Clearly just big corporation entities just sending the worst of the worst to pretty much make human slaves out of residents of these areas that they're mining for their resources.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we have Lois, basically, like you said, tasering the Peacemaker.
Yeah, after beating him with his own taser.
Exactly. Telling him that he's under arrest. And then we flash back to those 9 people again, and we had another 9-panel page.
Yeah, and this time they're a little bit more willing to talk to her.
Right.
Were some of these reoccurring characters? Yeah. So we see
all of the well, except for Lois is interspersed, but they're all the people that aren't Lois on this page were also seen on the first page as well.
Yeah, they're all kind of talking to her now because they're not giving up Superman, but they're conveying that they understand how she feels. Because she tried to say, I've seen him too, and I want to help him. They're like, oh, so what got me is the guy that said, you were struck by lightning, Agent Lane. You cannot help but chase the storm. Then they're kind of describing the feeling that they got from being in his presence and feeling like his nature and everything, and how she just can't help but look for him. They're kind of just saying, we understand how you're feeling, right, but we're not giving this guy up.
Right. And we get different, exactly. Some say, I haven't seen him, but I've heard of him because he's a whisperer. The last one that we saw, the woman that had the badges over her eye, basically she's saying, you know what, he's coming for all of you. He's going to kill all of you.
She prays that he kills all of the Lazarus Corporation employees.
Right.
We pray for Superman's rage, which I hope we don't experience. If we, you hear it all the time. The bad Superman thing is not trendy anymore. Right. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes a bad Superman. So I hope we don't see that. But we get Lois that goes and kind of just leaves the investigation, and she's kind of walking around the area in Pakistan, and she's kind of just talking out loud. Superman, if you can hear me, your friends were wrong. I'm not chasing the storm. I am the storm, and you can't hide forever. And she's kind of feeling around, and she finds some of the Kryptonian dust that is where he was and everything. And then she gets an interesting phone call, which opens up a whole nother level of the story in the Absolute Superman universe.
Yeah, it's Sam Lane, General Sam Lane, who apparently is retired. But the reason he's retired is because as they first show his face, but then when they show him in a full body, we see that he's in a wheelchair. He basically has no legs from the knee down.
But Lieutenant Dan, he ain't got no legs.
Yeah, exactly. He's a double amputee. Lieutenant Dan over here. However, since it is comics, he does have these fancy-dancy legs that will appear out of the back of his chair that he can then put on, so he can actually move around. So
Pretty
you can
cool.
see the kind of exactly.
He's also a hardliner, man. He's big time company man. Lois tightened up. Listen to what they say. Go chases that guy down. Get him at all costs. And Lois is like, yeah, I kind of met him. He's not really like that. I heard you wanted to write your own report and didn't let the Brainiac program. What is going on with you? She's like, yo, man, you're tripping, Dad. I know you're invested and you're hard up for all this stuff because your experiences with the Omega Men, which is kind of like a rebellion group inside of the workers. But there's a distance between Lois and her dad, which I'm not used to seeing. They're normally thick as thieves.
Right. So we see her walking through the city, basically, still talking to her. Her dad basically says, you need some protection. And that's when she kind of, not inadvertently, but basically says, hey, you know what, by the way, I don't report to you, so you can't, make somebody come here and see me. We see the Omega Men are coming, graffitied on the back as she's walking through the city. And then we go and we find another gentleman, a Peacemaker, who is basically talking to Brainiac, the AI.
Yeah, and he's not having a good go at it. Right. He's reporting the events of that shooting in the last issue, and he's trying to give an honest report of how he's cracking up and he harmed all these people in the Brainiac program, which no one's aware that an actual Brainiac is sitting at the other end of these monitors in a different location. It's not just a computer program. It's an actual, the Brainiac is sitting in a chair responding, and he's trying to say, like, I'm cracking here, I need help, I fired all these people, and Brainiac's responding with, so your gun malfunctioned, we'll get it fixed and you'll be right back to work. No, you don't understand, it wasn't the gun, I need help. You will get help on the front line with a brand new gun. You are perfectly fine, go do your job. And he's cracking more and more, and Brainiac just ain't hearing it, causing it to get worse and worse for this Peacemaker here. And we also get the name of this Peacemaker here.
Yes, it wasn't Hank Henshaw.
No, it wasn't. It was Christopher Smith, the Peacemaker.
All right.
So while Peacemaker seems to be a designation for the shock troops, if you will, of the Lazarus Corp, there is a Christopher Smith who is the Peacemaker from our standard DC universe, and I'm not sure if he's long for this title because he's having a rough go at it by the end. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
We flash to see a new character. Who we will come to find out is very familiar to all of us, his identity. However, it is someone that basically Lois Lane finds in the city who is working with the Omega Men. And it's funny because sometimes you can see something and it's like but it takes like you're seeing it like 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and then suddenly something clicks in your mind.
What was it for you?
Well, because when you say Omega Man, I'm thinking the Omega Man that you see from the Green Lantern, whenever they appeared first in Green Lantern, and then but if you're Darkseid, you would have people that are called Omega Man, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
So the connection is not to this. I'm assuming not to this interstellar group that we saw in the regular DC universe, but is somehow connected to Darkseid. I'm thinking somehow down the road. This one we found it is actually called Alpha.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so it took you 7 panels for it to click till the mask came up, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Had the Omega symbol right there.
Well, he has the Alpha symbol because he's Alpha. The Omega Prime has the actual Omega symbol on her.
Oh yeah, his crosses. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this guy was tracking Lois. She's a better tracker and dipped out and got behind him and started questioning, why are you following me? You were the Omega Men. He's like, hey, I'm not here to hurt you. I want to talk to you. I feel this character feels like he can convince Lois that the Omega Men are not the bad guys, and the corporation she's working for has got her absolutely fooled, and she would not be cool with what's happening. And he's trying to explain when she doesn't have time for it, and they start fighting this character in Lois Lane.
Yeah. And then out of nowhere, the Omega Prime shows up, who basically, so she's got the Omega on her face, and she's pretty good with a deadly weapon as well.
Oh yeah, she is. Takes some shots at Lois, stops the fight between her and said character.
How do I get rid of that?
I think you just click on it like this. Boom.
Oh, okay.
And
I have no idea how I did that, but that's okay.
Did I do that bumping my mouse pad?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But yeah, it turns out that the character that Lois was fighting with is none other than Jimmy Olsen himself, who's one of the Omega Men, or the rebels, fighting back against the Lazarus Corp. And this altercation between Jimmy, the Omega, and Lois got the attention of the local peacemakers, who said, shots fired. We got shots fired in the slums, and they dispatched to the unit. And unfortunately, leading the charge is this mentally cracked Christopher Smith Peacemaker with a broken helmet, but he's got a new gun.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I'm also starting to believe that they're misnamed.
Which
the
ones?
Peacemakers.
Yeah,
because they're not very peaceful.
Yeah. Running through the slums, just shoving people and.
Omega Prime ends up with this really cool, almost like an electric sword kind of a thing, like a laser sword. Hello.
Yeah, she's not as patient in trying to convince Lois of the Lazarus Corporation's intentions with everybody, and just wanting to shut her down. Where Jimmy's trying to get through to her, and in the midst of this back and forth, you see the red mist, Paul.
Right, exactly. And we know what the red mist, normally it means there's a crisis coming in the regular universe, but here it actually means that Superman is close by. And so he ends up, first time we've seen him, like 2/3 of the way through the issue, but he ends up basically flying in and landing next to Lois. It basically says, you need to stop looking for me.
And before she could really get a word in edgewise, he just dips out again.
So she says, just give me a minute of your, and then basically the Peacemakers come at him. They fire some bullets. Nothing phases him, of course. He uses his freeze breath, makes them popsicles, is what Lois says, and then just kind of takes off.
Yeah, this was a cool part because Jimmy gets to record the whole thing. He caught Superman flying off in his camera, which is indicative to him being the photographer. And you can see the smile on his face the first time we've seen him excited in this entire issue. And he says, whoa, he's just in awe of Superman, as kind of calls back to the beginning of the issue with how everyone's so impacted by interacting with this character, seeing a man fly and he was like fighting for the people kind of thing. Lois goes off on frozen Christopher Smith Peacemaker, who can hear her, but he's stuck in this clump of ice, just calling him a popsicle brain. I hope it hurts with you frozen in there, blah, blah, blah. And even the locals making fun of the Peacemaker, saying, let's get a picture of this, ha, ha, ha. So their egos are very, very bruised, and they're not going to stand for that.
Right. Alpha Prime is taking out her frustrations on Jimmy. She slaps him, says that basically everything that just happened was his fault. That's when we first get his name. She says, he says, you can call me Jimmy. He says, I can't, I believe Agent Lane can be convinced she's got a good heart. Maybe she's on the wrong side. She just doesn't know it yet. We go back to Agent Smith on the final page, who is standing there, and guess what? There's a whole other village basically that's pretty much dead and around.
Yeah, what a page turn, too, guys. We turn the page, and it's him just wild eyes screaming with the other peacemakers trying to hold him. Mm-hmm. And it's him coming to his senses where he just raged out and massacred everybody who was around them. I guess when they thawed out, just crazy. Just absolutely bananas.
Yeah, and basically, she's like, he's like, what did I do? And one of the other peacemakers just said, you just brought a storm down upon us.
Once again, calling back to the earlier parts of the issue with the conversations. Yeah.
Right. And this is, it's funny because Superman is in this practically not at all, maybe 3 pages at the most.
His presence is there though, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it really helps to flesh out the rest of the characters that we're getting through here. So,
I'm loving the pacing of this one. Like, the differences in all 3 of these books is pretty perfect for my taste in reading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So far, fingers crossed, they can do no wrong. And I do know that we read that Scott Snyder said that he basically has been having meetings about what's going to happen in the second year and everything. So,
and they're going to cross them up.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens there. So. Looking forward to it. But that's going to be it for this edition of DC Comics Deep Dive. Don't forget, before you leave, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit the like button right down there, a little thumbs up, and leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. I am Paul. He is Mark.
But we are Legion.
And you're now leaving Sector 20.